Welcome to Pubcast Live. I'm Ken Thomas, along with my good buddy Thor. Pubcast Live is the podcast where we celebrate America's love affair with bars, pubs, and breweries. And this is episode lucky number 13. Ooh, how about that, Thor?
I like it.
And what's really special about this is we are on the road.
This is Pubcast Live right here.
Okay.
We are on the road. I'm sitting in something called the Rec Room. We'll get to that.
Yeah, and we're at, of course, Roundhouse Brewery in beautiful Nisswa, Minnesota.
That's right. Great place.
This is fantastic. Well, I'm excited to talk to these guys. They've got some interesting stories to tell. A move, a new start, right in the middle of a pandemic, and yet some really cool things. And we've been told some breaking news will be coming on this episode of Pubcast Live. You like it?
I love it.
We'll get to our interview with our friends from Roundhouse Brewery in just a moment on Pubcast Live. We remind you that Pubcast Live is brought to you by Giovanni's Frozen Pizza. Awesome frozen pizza with over 20 varieties to choose from. Try their chicken bacon ranch. It's one of everybody's favorites. Ranch dressing, garlic seasoned chicken strips, bacon, onions. It is tasty. And available at bars all over central Minnesota. That's Giovanni's Frozen Pizza. Ask for it by name. All right, Thor, it is time now for the interview portion of Pubcast Live, and we are on the road.
This is not Pubcast Live. This is Pubcast Live.
Oh, okay.
Or Live de. Or whatever we're going to call it.
DUEX?
Yes.
I see. Okay. Well, we are just tickled pink to be at Roundhouse Brewery in beautiful Nisswa, Minnesota, with Dan Meyer and Mark Lelwica, the owner-partners here at Roundhouse Brewery. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us on Pubcast Live.
You bet. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, you too. Yeah, this is a great show.
Let's talk a little bit. We should set the stage for all of our Pubcast Live listeners. You guys are here in Nisswa, but that's not where this started.
Can I interrupt here? I'm so sorry, guys, but
I always do.
Once again,
he does. That's
he's a moron, this guy. He forgets.
I'm all business, and
he's all business. He forgets. We've got a couple of wonderful beers in front of me. Ken and I both have a Cinder Dick sitting right in front of us, fresh off the tap.
That's right.
I don't know what you're drinking, but we're going to clink here, and here we go. Ready?
What do you have over there, Dan?
I got a M&I, our Pilsner.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Mark's got...
I'm drinking some water because I'm hitting on the road when we're done here.
Okay, very good. And,
well, cheers.
There we go.
Here we are, Roundhouse
Cheers.
Brewery. All right.
Yeah, one of my favorites right here, a nice IPA.
Yes.
Cinder Dick.
Yes, and here at, for those who haven't been to Roundhouse, they probably know we have a railroad theme. Our original brewery was in the old railroad yards down in Brainerd, and so we not only carry that theme throughout our decor, but with our beers too. So a lot of our beers are named after railroad slang, or railroad stories. So a Cinder Dick was actually the term they used for a railroad detective or a railroad cop. They would walk the cinders of the tracks, and they know, typically they called cops dicks and stuff like that. So we love sort of educating the people on the old railroad. So
is that the one
too.
that when guys would jump boxcars and stuff, try to sneak rides?
Yep.
It was the Cinder Dick that would probably
That's
find
the one
them.
you were running from, Thor.
All right.
Might have been speaking from experience there.
Back when you were riding the rails.
That's right. That's me.
That's great. Yeah, I explained this to Thor many years ago when we were sitting at your pub, when it was located in Brainerd, that a Cinder Dick, and I said, do you remember the famous movie that starred W.C. Fields? It was called The Bank Dick. And it was about he was a bank cop, if you will.
Okay.
And, of course... Yeah, I'm older than everybody, so nobody else saw that
I want to jump in really quick, too. And, you were talking about being in the old railroad yards in Brainerd and then making this move up here. I got to tell you, some people we're worried about that, right? But after walking through your facility here, you're really carrying that through. I get that, the railroad theme, and I love the names, and now we're axe throwing. I mean, we're going to talk about that, but you've done a really nice job. It's the railroad theme. I'm still totally picking it up, so.
Yeah, thanks. It was a big part of of how we started. And since that was essentially the roots, of the brewery, of the business that we created, we certainly wanted to to have that stick with us. We wanted to maintain that and carry that with us. And there's always the historical, especially now, railroad is sort of a thing of the past. Yes, it still is,
right.
Obviously alive and well today, but there's a certain nostalgia that comes with that, especially the way we branded it in that historic 150-year-old place. So bringing just a history component with us, up to this area was not a stretch. Of course, there's tons of history that the railroad has in this area that just permeates throughout.
And I still see all the old photos I loved. I just see all that stuff. So
really cool.
Love it.
With the move, you've gained a little space.
Yes. And that was one of the big reasons for the move, is why we loved our old facility and some of that great ambiance it had. We were sort of space constrained, and as we continued to grow, it just became a situation where we tried to get more space, but again, we were dealing with brick walls and steel pillars and stuff down there, so we started to look for a place that could accommodate more growth, and definitely we found it up here. So we went from
Now you gave us a figure earlier. You went from how many square feet?
We had about 4,200 in the old facility, and now we have over 14,000. So and it still feels there's places in this building that we're busting at the seams too.
It's like any man who's ever built a shed or a garage. I mean, there's no man ever said I built a garage too big.
That's right. This garage is way too big.
You build the space, you're going to fill it.
You're going to fill this, and you're already. I mean, we're sitting right now, folks, in the. I guess what do you call this? The rec room?
The rec room, as in train wreck. Yeah.
As in a train wreck, and one of the reasons is there's 6 axe throwing booths behind me. They're silent right now, thankfully, because we're doing this show. Yeah. But I saw you throw an axe earlier, and man, was that good!
Yeah,
you hit the wall sideways with that axe, and it fell right to the ground.
Yep, there's a reason I'm not a coach, nor I may be coachable. I don't know.
So, what prompted you to go axe throwing?
So I think a lot of it was as I was, once in a while I'd go on my Facebook feed, and it seemed most of my East Coast friends would all of a sudden be showing pictures of them throwing axes. So I don't know if it started on the East Coast and came, but I thought, boy, everybody had a smile on their face when they were doing it. And so again, when we got this amount of space and you figure out how can we monetize that, or how do we create additional revenue streams, which was again part of our reason for moving, is that down where we were before, we could all we had was beer. We had one product. So how do you create a space? And part of it is we looked at this area too, and again, people are heavily into tourism up here. We've got visitors. How do you create a place for them that's more than just a brewery? Mm-hmm. And so we really started to think about the whole complex as an entertainment center. Yeah. That we're not in the beer industry, we're in the entertainment industry. And it sort of changes your mindset as far as then how do we get them here so that we capture them for an afternoon rather than maybe just an hour, And so looking into axe throwing, nobody else around here was really doing it. It was interesting, after we sort of announced we were doing it, there were a lot of people that said,
all of a sudden
I was
got the idea.
Do that. I was going to do that. Yeah. So we turned this facility, went and visited a few of them. There's another brewery up in Duluth, Blacklist, that has one. There's a gentleman in Alexandria that started one there, and in St. Cloud. So again, through some of their, gained some knowledge from talking with them and stuff too. So it's been a great hit. It's provided a novelty, I think. We've had a lot of repeat customers come and do it. And again, it really blends well into sort of what we're trying to create, is sort of a family-friendly, fun atmosphere.
Well, and you were saying something about parties here, like a possible Grooms dinner or whatever. You get together here and you have the fun, and you axe throwing is part of it. And I want to assure our listeners that even though we're sitting here drinking IPAs and talking about throwing axes, it's very safe. That's the first thing I thought of, is what could go wrong?
Yeah.
You're drinking beer and throwing axes.
That must have been an interesting discussion with your insurance guy.
Yeah, it was. It's funny. That is one of the first questions you get is, wait a minute, what could possibly go wrong here?
But there's cages all. I mean, this is fine.
Yeah, well, for sure. And we obviously have coaches to monitor, not just to monitor people, but to literally coach people. And I think, take a step back into what has been, successful about breweries in general. We're family friendly. We're welcoming to everybody. It's not a bar, and I don't mean to say that with any disrespect to bars, but we don't stay open late. People come here, to simply socialize and to enjoy a craft product.
Yep.
And along with that comes just a different level of safety and I think security for people, that they know that they can do this, they can have a positive experience and be safe in doing it.
Yeah. One of the other beautiful parts of your new facility, in my opinion, is that huge patio, which everybody is dying to get a patio on their bars, pub, breweries.
Yeah, it was a big draw, again, building on Dan's idea and his comment on just expanding and broadening different sources of revenue. We were very again confined in the old location, so that was a big part of it. And the timing of this all coming down, we decided what better to do in the middle of a recession and a pandemic then, but to up and move and to leave the security of a place and buy another. But we had this vision with the patio, and it just encompassed what people do up here. They go outside. It's summertime. You're in your shorts and your flip flops, and you're going to listen to a band and have a great beer. Well, then COVID hits, and it's like, well, why not bring out your sorrels and your camouflage and have a beer outside by the campfire? And so we were able to take advantage of that patio, all winter long, and people certainly embraced it. We're Minnesotans, we're hardy. We can. It's a part of this experience, and it's been cool to see the community embrace that, and we're very blessed that we've been able to take advantage of that as well.
Yeah, and we I think the other thing, in addition to the great sort of winter response, we were looking forward to our first full summer here. I mean, we moved up here about August 17th, and we got a taste for, again, a summer evening on that patio with music playing on that stage and people sitting on the hillside. And so, again, we've got great plans for this summer as far as music. I think we're probably planning on having music Thursday nights, Friday nights, Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, and Sundays. We like our music. There's a lot of good talent around this area. And again, it provides a place where people can come, have a beer, sit and listen to music, and enjoy an afternoon, a nice Minnesota summer afternoon.
Yeah, and Mark, you alluded to something earlier that we talk about a lot on this show, and that's the fact that, and I kind of joked when I was talking about drinking beer and throwing axes, it's not about coming to any of these places to just drink. It's all about the social aspect and just having a place to go and congregate and have fun. And yes, you'll enjoy a craft brew while you're there, but you're not there to drink. You're there to just enjoy the whole ambiance, and you've got it going on here, man. There's a lot of stuff to look at and a lot of things to discover.
We kind of penned it early on as as we were just building and growing. What is it that we're doing? What's our mission and why? And part of our mission statement and our values revolve around providing people with the Roundhouse Experience, and that really encompasses a lot of things. And with the move up here, we've just been able to expand what that experience is. And Thor, that's what you're hitting on. It's people want to be a part of something, and I think when you give people the impression, or when you give them that they are actually a part of something, they feel a different connection to it. As we were walking around here before giving you guys the tour, you commented on it, Thor, and how that's important to people to be sitting in the same room that this product is produced.
Oh, it's so cool.
We're in an age now where people are hyper aware about where their products come from.
Yeah.
As consumers, we're just all the more in tune with what that is, and the fact that people can sit down here and realize that what I have in my glass was made right here.
That's right, and let's talk about that. We were just out touring your platform, you call it, which is now, it's out in the main area, but up above you have this platform you built now where another 50 people can be up there. And I'm looking down on the top of all these great tanks and stuff that are just full of craft brews. It's just that whole, like we were talking about, the industrial kind of, yet it's a lot of fun. I know what you mean.
And again, from up there, some of the other unique elements we, as far as our bar, which very few people have had an opportunity to sit at yet, but we created a real unique experience in that we've actually got railroad tracks underneath the glass.
Yeah, and you got little things hidden.
Yeah,
so I've been here before this show, and I think I found about 20 of them.
Yeah. So our intention, again, as we bought this place and sort of remade it, or what we called Roundhouse 2.0, again, is to create a place that when people are up here, And we know that if you've got a lake cabin up here, a lot of times you might have guests that come, and we want this to be the place that, we got to go there. I got to show you this, And as Mark alluded to, the Roundhouse Experience, since we've started, we always knew it was sort of a 3 elements. We wanted a good product, good beer, a great atmosphere, and great service.
Speaking of that, let's do this.
Yeah.
Because that is good beer.
Another cheers, okay.
That is good beer.
And we've actually memorialized that into a document, and so it's part of our training. And so in essence, the goal is when somebody walks out the door as they're leaving, they're saying, when can we come back? And so that's what we try to give that Roundhouse experience to everyone who walks in the door.
Now I'm going to circle back to where it started, and it's the first thing you said in that experience. Product.
Yeah.
You guys got great beer here. Who's your brewer? Who dreams these up? Because you've got a little something for everyone, but just awesome product.
Yeah. So our brewer is Chuck Martin, and again, we sort of, between Chuck and Mark and I, one interesting little element is we all, if you took an isosceles triangle, I think, over in Staples.
Careful now, these listeners.
Yeah,
our listeners are. This is audio only. So.
Yeah. You would have about a mile in between each of those 3 points that we grew up.
No way.
Yes. So Chuck and I are of the same age, and we were childhood friends. And actually, Mark's a little younger than us, but I was friends with his older siblings and was at his house a lot of times. And he was always that annoying little redhead kid walking around, and
that hasn't changed.
Still is, yeah. So Chuck and I again went all through school together. He's got a chemistry background. We sort of lost touch, but then through Facebook you find each other again. He was out in Ohio, he and his wife living there. He was working in the pharmaceutical industry, but then was actually brewing part-time for a destination restaurant out there. So he sort of cut his teeth on a smaller system, but he went from home brewing to at least commercial brewing. My wife and I were actually on a road trip across the country, stopped in and spent a couple nights with he and his wife, and ended up talking and found out he wanted to move back to Minnesota and wanted to brew full time. And so that was back.
The seed was planted at that
7
point?
years ago. Yeah, I thought, I got a brewer. And
2014?
so, because Mark and I had bumped into each other a couple years before that. And he had shared a dream about opening a brewery. So then I thought, well, I got a brewery now. What else? Our brewer. Yeah. So gave Mark a call and said, you want to have a cup of coffee and talk about this? And we would start every Wednesday. We'd meet at Caribou Coffee and have a coffee and start answering questions. There was usually big ones at the beginning. Where would we put this? How much would you raise? Can we do that? That type of thing. And it took about a year, almost to the day from when we started that conversation to opening the doors.
Yeah, and Chuck has done obviously an amazing job at creating, what I think has been our collective vision of quality beers. One of the things that I think when you're starting this whole process, I think it's kind of our nature. Let's play it safe. Let's make sure that we've got good, safe, traditional beers and lineups, and we've done that. He's created some fantastic ambers, lagers, IPAs, and so kind of a very conservative approach. I cut my teeth, or is that how you say it when you learn how to drink beer?
Sure. That works for us.
Ken talks a lot about this when you were young. So how did you cut your teeth on beer?
Beer, exactly. I know. on German beer. I'd spent some time over there, so I was pretty spoiled and fortunate. But that was kind of where my palate, and still is, where my palate gravitates towards. So you'll see a lot of our beers sort of maybe lean a little bit that German way. And just being very traditional and very safe versions of those beers. Chuck yet has done, and the market has demanded that, once in a while you gotta improvise, you gotta adapt, you have to try something a little bit goofy, a little bit funky, a little bit different, and he's clearly shown his ability to do that. Some of the crazier beers he's come up with. We answered the call to a challenge a couple of years ago for a part of the Sports Boosters fundraiser, the Tapped and Corked event, and we and some other participating breweries submitted to the public an idea of brewing a beer that had one required ingredient. And while we got a big list, it was narrowed down to ultimately, in the end, peanut butter. So Chuck created a peanut butter and jelly beer called the Lunch Bucket, which literally tastes like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. If you were to picture that in beer, that's literally what it tastes like.
Wow.
And surprisingly, I'm a very traditional beer fan, and I can drink that beer, and it's one of those beers that people try because they're so curious, and then they end up having another one because it's that good.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, that's just one example, but he's done, different versions of pepper beers. He's done smoked beers. He's done, he's got a sour that's going really well for us now. So his ability to create really unique one-offs and adapt is also a very strong strength of his.
So I'm like you. My first beer, I cut my teeth on Guinness of all things. I was back to episode 1.
That's tough, yeah.
16 years old.
Tough act to follow.
That is right. Where do you go from there?
That was kind of my first experience, and I actually learned to enjoy it. But basically what you're saying is, for the listeners here, you come here, if you're a traditionalist and pretty conservative with your beer, like I am. I like a heavier, I would think German beer maybe a little same. I don't know, maybe not, but
you can be.
I can find that here and be very comfortable. But for those who want to explore a little bit more, and it's all there.
Yeah, that's tricky. That's one of the things you hit on it exactly. That's what I was getting to. It's not necessarily about what I like. Maybe one or two beers is about what I like, but it's really about what the people like. Right. And yeah, exactly. We've got light and safe. We've got cream ale. We've got lagers.
You're going to find it here.
You're going to find the whole
what you want. Here. Bring everybody in your group. Yeah. They're all going to find what they want.
They are. And we've also done a really good job of not just hiring, but then continuing to develop and encourage education and development in our staff, so that when you walk through the door and say, what do I get? What do you recommend? The first question is going to be, well, tell me what you like and tell me what you normally drink. Yeah. And then we're able to, from there, guide, a consumer towards a beer that they're going to like. And we've, at any given time, got 17 beers on tap. You're going to find something you like.
Yeah. Beers have come a long way. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
For those that love beer, this is, we're in a golden age right now.
Yeah.
Breweries are popping up everywhere, and there's great brewers like Chuck that really turn out some fantastic product, and that's good for all of us.
It is, I think, and that's all of us. The next thing I was just going to touch on, because, when we first started this idea, we were somewhat motivated by the fact that the industry looked like it was primed for this, and the area looked like it was primed for this. There was a void in the market. There wasn't a brewery, in Brainerd. Jack Pine, again, hats off to Patrick, had opened up already, and so we thought, wow, what a great opportunity. But we really just felt that the people would want this and receive this type of a product that we were able to provide.
Yeah, and for those of us who live in Brainerd or the Lakes area, like you say, Jack Pine and Roundhouse, that was the first two experiences you had with beer outside of like a liquor store. And it's like, what is this? They're actually brewing this beer. And it's funny, you touched on something.
I like to say really good beer.
And it reminds me, though.
I mean that.
Honestly, this reminds me, you just hit on something. It reminds me of, do you remember when coffee shops first started popping up? You never went you just went to get coffee at McDonald's or wherever, a gas station.
Yeah.
All of a sudden there's coffee, and you'd walk in and you'd say, well, I just like dark coffee, but they would work with you and say, well, no, what you really like maybe is this, and you'd try that. And so now all of a sudden, we all kind of know what we like in coffee. And so the breweries are kind of the same way, where you start out, I think I know what kind of beer I like, I know what I like, but if I come in and your staff is knowledgeable and you're knowledgeable, I can say, well, this is normally what I drink. I like something like this. What do you have? Like just here, this Cinder Dick, it's right up my alley. I just kind of explained what I like to drink, and you bring it to me, and there it is.
Yeah,
I love it.
And it's interesting though, how that the craft beer drinker, when you try to market them, or market to them, I should say, or try to figure out, in many ways, I say they're not loyalists. You used to, you got your Bud guys and your Miller guys, they go grab their case of beer, every week, and boom, that's all I drink, The craft beer drinker, I think, is more of an experimentalist, and we get so many people that come up to the bar and say, what's new?
Yeah.
And why they might have their standard, go back to this, that's what I'm going to end with. It's like, no, I'm willing to try something, and so to try to sort of stay ahead of that curve a little bit, especially as you try to market them through, off sale and on-premise situations too. It's to see that is sort of, again, provides the brewer a lot of opportunity to have fun with it too, because it is a craft, and so what can I make different this day that's not two out there, you know. But we've seen, I think, that palate change over time. We see it definitely up here too. We notice the difference between sort of our locals and our tourists in that when they try a sampler, what we call tracks. A lot of other people call them flights, but we're at a railroad place. So
It can't be a flight. You can't be a flight at a railroad.
We're quick to correct them.
But all of a sudden during the summer, you see the sales of those going up because they've never been in here before, and I want to try a bunch, and then I'm going to figure out which one is going to be that I'll put in the pint glass.
Yeah. And it's interesting, you were saying before we started this interview, how many breweries were there around the state when you started?
I think we were roughly about the 95th.
Somewhere right in there.
And as we speak today?
I don't know the exact number, but I know it's a little over 200. So
and that was 5 years. We just had our 5th anniversary, 5th birthday, whatever you want to call it. But that's
over
5
doubled.
years.
I mean, you're seeing them in little towns like Jenkins now, you know, has a little brewery there and stuff. So.
Well, and as the community continues to embrace us, you know, I think you'll continue to see it grow in areas where, you know, it might be less and less populated. I mean, obviously you're going to see a concentration in general around your more populated areas, but I wouldn't be surprised if they continue to spread out into the less populated areas. And I think our area is a really good example of just a network of breweries. I mean, you've got one brewery by itself, you know, could be a stop, but it might not be a destination. But now when you've got a network of multiple breweries, now you've got a destination. You've got people who are willing to come now and visit one on one day, and maybe they go home and then go to the next on the next day, or maybe they visit one on one trip, or on the next trip up they go to another one. But people are going to want to experience different atmospheres, different products. They want to see what's out there.
Ken and I have a buddy, Todd, that's exactly like that. Leaves and goes on brew pub, basically brewery tours. I mean, check them all out. And that's good that you say that, because it really is a kind of it's a brotherhood of brewery. Brotherhood sounds sexist. You know what I mean? I'm going to say that again. What's the word? Say that again.
That works.
A community.
A community of brewers. And you're not, I mean, yes, you're kind of competing, but you're not. The sum is greater. You know, it's greater.
Yeah, it's good for the industry. Everybody is really enjoying it. Yeah.
Yep.
So let's do some breaking news on this show, because Thor, we've managed to do that a couple times now.
We love breaking
Live,
news.
And
Pubcast Live has breaking news. Live squared.
All right. So you haven't utilized all of those. What did you say?
14,000 square feet.
No. So what are we going to do with that?
Well, what we're going to do is, when you're drinking, you like to have something to eat. And so for the last 5 years, we when the phone rings and somebody says, "Hey, do you have food there?" You know, we typically say no, but you can bring some in if you want. And actually also, back to when we first started, there were some laws that sort of prohibited us. I didn't say prohibit, limited, that if we chose to have food or over 25% of your revenue was from food, you had to become a brew pub. Some of those rules have changed. And so now we are in the process of putting a kitchen in that we're calling the dining car, that will serve both our tap room as well as our event center. And in a sort of counter service, I guess, and what we're calling sort of an indoor food truck concept, you know, as far as...
I love that analogy, by the way. You said that earlier.
Fresh food, it's probably going to change a little bit on a seasonal basis. But we're really excited about it, because we saw a lot of pizzas here last year, and so we thought, why don't we capture some of that revenue as well, and provide a place where people, again, can come, have a beer, eat, whether it be lunch or dinner, listen to some good music, you know. And then what we saw a lot of times up here is interesting, is our business sort of tails off after the dinner hour, because people want to go back to the lake, I think, and watch the sunset. So that's why I said we're that place that they're on the lake in the afternoon and say, well, we need some place to go to grab a bite to eat. So we're hoping in about
Dan's looking at me, and I'm looking at the wall.
You guys should see their faces. They both coiled back at the same time with big hearty laughs.
So they've got the timeline down
4 to 6
perfectly.
weeks.
Okay.
4 to 6
early
weeks.
summer.
That's the official.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
By
the
early
Pubcast
June.
Live breaking news, right?
That's exciting, though,
Yeah.
isn't it?
It is.
Oh,
it
yes.
is.
Yes.
We're trying to, keep up with the times too. We'll, the concept will be very similar to what we've all gotten used to in the last year. Of course, you can, order on your phone. We'll have some kiosks in the place where you can place an order that way. But, order on your phone. You're going to be notified when it's done. You can pick it up and sit down at a table, or of course, have to-go options available as well for people.
That is really cool. Now, you're also working on finishing up something that you mentioned before, and this is kind of a event center, if you will?
Yeah. So again, when we bought this facility, it's a building that was originally a wood stain manufacturing. And so there's sort of manufacturing. What is it? Party in the back and business up front.
Yeah, it's like a mullet.
Yeah,
a bit of a mullet building.
So we got the manufacturing.
Minnesota's
and the brewery
first
in the
mullet
back.
brewery. Yeah. There it is. I got a T-shirt for you.
I know some hats you can make with that hair coming out the back. Yeah.
So the front half of this building, which is again on the highway side, and everybody sees that, was sort of a showroom and office space. And so how do you create a flow between that? But we have found there's a lot of people that are looking for a place to rent space. Having a wedding at a brewery or a groom's dinner at a brewery seems like a pretty fun and novel thing. So we're taking, we remodeled a little bit because we had to take a little space for the kitchen. But we'll be, if you've ever been in this building or if you haven't, in about a month, you'll be able to come up and take a look. The event center we've named Union Station.
Cool.
Yep. And again, we've had quite a few requests, of course, again, after everybody's sort of coming out of this COVID thing and had to delay a lot of whether it be company parties or weddings or groom's dinners.
Yeah.
But it seems to be really, again, be a need in the area, and we're going to be happy to have people in here enjoying that space as well.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
A lot of things coming.
Yeah, there's some flexibility with the space. I mean, it was, as Dan had indicated, inherently not really ideal, just the way it was built and laid out to be an event space. But we're doing some improvements to that to make the atmosphere a lot more welcoming, and we're shooting for about 150 person max capacity on that. But it looks to be something that, again, is in need of in this area just for that size of crowd.
Let's talk about this again, though, because we're assuming that all our listeners know exactly where you are now, and there might be some that are confused by that still.
Well, that's true.
We've had people that say, "Oh, we went to your old place."
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying we're telling our listeners that obviously you've moved. You bought this new facility, so you're on 371 North.
Yep.
You're just south of Schaefer's Foods, basically, right? That's a great way to say it. Mm-hmm. On the same side of the road, the east side of the highway. Mm-hmm. And when I pull in here, there's a frontage road. Just get on the frontage road. You'll find Roundhouse. Do you want me to pull into the upper lot here and come in, or do you want me to circle around to the back? What do you want me to do?
I believe the answer is wherever there's an open space.
I don't care how you get in here. Just get in here.
To get to the brewery down below, it seems logical to pull in the lower lot and park, and then I walk right in those lower doors, and I'm in the brewery.
Yeah,
the event center is a little more up here. Does it matter?
It does. Yeah, the front of the building, which is of course that's the side that all the traffic sees is what we'll call the Union Station, the event center. And we are right in the middle of, throughout this whole process of evolving and growing, of getting some signage up that's going to help to make it a little more intuitive as people drive in, so that they know where to go. But to get to the tap room, you actually are going to take a driveway that brings you to the back side of the building. And that's been one thing that's kind of surprised me because, as Dana mentioned, we opened the middle of August last year, and even in a short tenure of enjoying some summer traffic, it was surprising how many people came to the front door, which the Union Station door. Right. And in my mind, I keep thinking, that's amazing, because that means they've never been here before. Because once you've been here,
that's what
you
I'm
know
trying
which door
to
to
get
go
to our listeners is when they come. I want them to know the front of the building, like you say, is primarily the party in the back. Circle around to the back. That's
Though if you want to, if it's a summer weekend night, you might be crashing a wedding if you want to walk through the front door. Yeah.
Well, that'd be fun. That's fun.
Hey, I want to talk about this. I know when you were in Brainerd, and I'm assuming you still do, I went to a lot of fundraisers, chamber events, You guys are really into giving back to the community and hosting events. Talk about that aspect.
Yeah, that's always been, I think, part of our core belief too, even as we started. When Mark and I started talking about forming a business, forming a brewery, what did we want it to be? And we wanted to make an impact in the community too. We just didn't want it to be somewhere where we spent money and didn't see a lot of return. But no.
Working on that.
Yeah.
It's a process.
Yeah. So one of the concepts, and actually we probably stole it from a brewery out in Montana, that we call it our Sunday Fun Day, and FUND, meaning that fund type of day.
Okay.
And and partnering with, again, local charities and allowing them the use of our space free of charge to, again, be a place where they can have a fundraising event for an afternoon. We also typically would donate portions of the amount of pints that are sold, $1 or $2 per pint, that we would encourage them to find other people to sponsor that as well. And I know it's a fairly similar model amongst other breweries as well. This past year, of course, that was a little more challenging to do and gather, but no, it's definitely a big component of who we are, and we, again, the community has supported us, and we want to support the community as well.
We also had a chance to, in some of our previous shows, talk about some of the local resorts and bars that are now putting your stuff on their taps. That's kind of nice to see how everybody works together, isn't it?
Yeah, we've really wanted to, establish our brand throughout the area, and part of that is partnering with local establishments, whether they're on premise or off premise, and that's really one of the gratifying things you see that I get to see as an owner. I know Chuck does too. He'll still tell stories about when he'll visit one of the local establishments, and he'll even he'll order and pay for one of his beers on tap, and he's I still just get a little chuckly and giddy over that, which it's gratifying. It means other people out there are appreciating and respecting what we're doing.
Like I say, this is what we do on this show. We interview bars, and there's a theme I've been hearing is people are happy to be working with the local people if they can, as much as possible. They're trying to bring that local element in, and that's great.
And we've done some nice, even what would I say, unique partnerships. I mean, we've got a beer that we brew specifically for Grandview.
We had Grandview on the show, and they talked about it.
Our Hole in the Day IPA.
Yeah, that's great.
Hole in the Day Bay IPA.
Hole in the Day Bay IPA.
We actually, about a month or two ago, we also did a collaboration with Black Bear, and that they now have a blackberry porter, our Coltrane porter, and so it's sort of again blending with their theme as well. So
little mass customization going on.
Yeah. You've got to,
that's a market.
I think I mentioned before, 95 breweries to over 200. It's become definitely much more competitive.
Sure.
And so, we've got Christine Graves, who's our brand ambassador out there, helping build our brand and talking with restaurants and thanking them for serving our beer. As well as other great staff here as well. Sully, our tap room manager, Lauren, our rec room manager, Molly, our event center manager. We've got a great team here that works, again, to really pull this place together.
Yeah, it's been nice to work with a lot of the local establishments, as we know, especially being in this market now where we are tourist heavy. People come from different areas, and one of the first questions out of their mouth is what's local, and
they want that. They're coming from other areas. They don't want to come here and do the same thing they do at home. They want everything, that experience, to be hyper local or whatever if they can.
Where it is.
And I think that's the charm of these breweries, to be honest with you. I can get a Budweiser anywhere in the country. I can't get this anywhere but right here. I love it. Yeah. So that's fantastic. All right, we're going to run out of time. Last question for both of you. What do you enjoy most about being here? What brings you the most joy about?
I have the most. Well,
and listen, we only got 40 minutes left.
Yeah, so. It might take me that. There's probably two elements. One, again, having a great team to work with and just having fun with them as they have fun with the people. And again, I've got several different careers in my past, but this by far has been the most fun. So when I'm behind pulling tap handles and serving beers to people and hearing stories and again, I could go on with some great stories I've heard. That's the most fun I have.
That's another show. That's what we like to say in this.
Interacting with people.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And you're in a place where they're having a good time, and yeah, it's just fun to create that atmosphere for people.
Yeah, Dan is the extrovert of the pair of us for sure. And not that I don't, I love it, but I am much more the observer. So you bring me here on a summer Friday or Saturday night, and I'll grab my pint and just sit in the corner and watch. But that's where the positive strokes come in. It's like you're watching these people who are just here enjoying themselves from something you created. And that's where that's the first and probably the biggest gratification that I get. The second really is seeing the development and growth of our team. I mean, when you take people, literally from off the street that who you didn't know from before, you had no history with, and you bring them on board, you run through the process, they really buy into what you're doing and they believe it, and they're passionate about it. And then you watch them grow and develop, and then they're on board with you, helping you to further cultivate and create what you've built. That's pretty gratifying too.
No doubt. Gentlemen, it's been such a pleasure to be here.
Well,
sipping your beer and talking to you about
Pubcast live. We're going to have to do this again.
Yeah, I think so.
We'll be here.
Dan Meyer, Mark Lelwica, thank you so much for being on Pubcast Live.
Thank you.
We truly appreciate it. All right, that'll do it for this segment of Pubcast Live. Well, once again, Thor, I have had a phenomenal time. This was a good idea, taking this live on the road.
We're going to have to do this more often. That was a lot of fun.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Dan and Mark for the tour of the facility, and an ability to see just what they have going on around here. We didn't get a chance to throw an axe, but we're coming back to do that, right?
Well, we watched Dan throw one.
Yeah.
It was a little disappointing, I'm not going to lie. But he explained that he's not a coach and he's not a professional axe thrower.
No, but I'll tell you what, if you want to come up and try it, it's a lot of fun. And you can do so at Roundhouse Brewery. Again, just south of Sportland Corners, just south of Schaefer's Foods here in Nisswa, right on Highway 371.
What I want to reiterate is that I was so impressed. I got to be honest, I was one of those, when they made their move, I was a little bummed out, because I live in Brainerd. I drive right by the old Roundhouse, and I get up here and I'm just so happy I was here today, because they've carried the theme through. There's so much more to do here, so many more places to go, yet it still feels like Roundhouse, and you can still tell you're at Roundhouse. So I encourage you to come on up if you're like me.
Yeah. And the other thing, not only did they, quadruple their space.
Yeah, from 4,000 to 14.
Yeah.
That's like 100 times, right? For you math majors?
Sure, that's it. Sure. But bottom line is we've talked about this. Patios are huge, and they have one of the nicest patios I've ever seen, with a huge bandshell.
Well, that's a big patio,
yeah,
too.
And it's right off of the brew pub, so it's going to be a lot of fun here in the summer to come to Roundhouse Brewery.
Yeah, and I think, like they said, when you're thinking about going someplace, I mean, you're like, we got to do something. Let's go somewhere. You don't have to overthink it. Just start heading for Roundhouse up here. And they got so much stuff going on. Like you say, the patio, bands inside the brewery. You can see the whole industrial brewery. It's so fun. And it's a big one. It's big. There's lots here.
Yeah.
You may end up in the axe room.
Yeah.
Challenging Dan, and you'll probably win.
You're going to win that one.
Yeah. So there's a lot to do here.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. We encourage you to check it out. And I'm sure we will have to come back, because there's a lot we didn't get to, isn't it?
Yeah, we're glad they had us, and we're happy to come back. We maybe come back, do another live show here, maybe out in the brewery itself, up on the platform.
Hey, and let's face it, they're not done with the restaurant and the event center, so we'll have to come back when that's all finished up.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun on the road. We're going to do that again, too, Thor.
You bet we are.
Go out on the road, that is. And we hope you'll come and find us on Pubcast Live.